So, John, if it's okay with you, I want to just start out by asking you about a couple of scenarios or questions that come up frequently with women that I talk with, because I would love to get your point of view and input on this. It's always so valuable to have the male perspective and such a relationship expert as you give your advice. So one of the things that comes up, and this is kind of the big picture, with a lot of women is they feel like there's a lot of men out there, particularly in the more mature category, 40s and beyond, that are not necessarily so motivated to pursue. And I'm sure younger women experience this too. I just happen to work mainly with this group. And they're not necessarily very good about following through. Like they have long conversations with them online, back and forth, but the guys don't ask to call or ask them out. Or maybe they ask them out and they go on a date. And like recently, a woman told me the man said, well, let's go out again on Friday. But then he never like followed through to actually set anything up, a place, a time, anything like that. So generally speaking, a lot of women are feeling the frustration, not only in how and where do they meet men that are willing to follow through, but what to do when a man just kind of like drops off. That was a lot there. Pick up wherever you like. I'm just giving a broad stroke here.
Well, I'll share some of the thoughts that come first. And a lot of these ideas are in Mars, Venus on a date. But successful dating is to recognize men are different from women. And what makes men motivated is different from what makes women motivated. So it looks like this. If you ask your mother, this is the culture that we live in, not understanding that men and women are different if we want to have romantic love. Now, keep in mind, I do have this preference. What your mother could teach you in the past, by her example or whatever, if she was a happy woman, was a lot of advice that's not appropriate today. For example, there's this whole thing about not talking too much. Okay, because men say, and a lot of the men you're going to find in a mature age have already been married, have already been in other relationships. And because they didn't understand women, they would have this idea that, women, they go on and on and on. I can't take it, talking too much. And also in your mother's generation, I know in my mother's, I'm in my 70s, my mother's generation, she didn't talk that much to my dad. She had girlfriends and, talked to the kids. And women in those generations didn't really need to talk to a man to feel better. See, we know now this big industry of coaching and counseling, women could just come and talk and they feel better. And that's because when you talk, if you're a woman and somebody listens to you, it increases your estrogen levels. And you need those estrogen levels to be at a healthy level for you. And to be romantically inclined towards a man, it needs to pretty much double your normal level. So there has to be some kind of interaction that will double your estrogen levels for him to bond with you and for you to bond with him. If I'm going to a job, we're understanding men here. If I go to a job and it doesn't pay much, I'm gonna look for another job. Okay, I'm not that motivated. I just came back from Colorado. They paid me a lot of money to come give a 2-hour talk. I mean, it's amazing. With the whole shutdown thing, I think I'm a little bit wounded by it. I think all of us are, to want to stay home more. I like my home. I like my neighborhood. I like the weather here. So why? But I'm getting out there. But because there was something of more money coming and also the opportunity to talk to 500 wonderful people, it motivated me. So results motivate men. Now in relationships, how do you know you're getting results with a woman? It's biological. She's producing pheromones that say, in your presence, my estrogen goes up. So that's for her to feel a man is good enough for her to open her heart to him, or her estrogen levels will go higher and higher. When a woman's estrogen levels go higher in the presence of a man, his testosterone goes higher. And testosterone is the hormone of motivation for men. Also, we have brain chemicals, dopamine, other things. But the bottom line is when a man has dopamine, since people know dopamine is the motivation brain chemical, well, what it does is it just activates testosterone. And that's the hormone that motivates men. That's the energy. That's the juice that gets them going. And most men, as they're getting older, their testosterone levels are going down. Primarily, there's other reasons for it, toxicity and failure in life, whatever it is, can lower testosterone. But the real key to testosterone, for me, what I've learned is my relationship skills. My relationship skills, if I can provide for a woman what she needs and wants and hold her, so to speak, in a safe zone, make her feel safe in my presence, she can depend on me in my presence, that raises her estrogen a lot. And that then causes my testosterone to go higher. So at 72 years old, my testosterone levels are 50% higher than when I was a young man. Okay, so I have all those qualities, but also have the wisdom of age. But I need a woman to keep motivating me. My partner just was out of town for quite a while, and I just did my exercise at home and meditated and didn't have that much motivation. I certainly have my work. I don't work as hard. But I'm giving the example for women is that women have to wake men up. Women have to motivate men. And that, for some women, that will be, why should I have to motivate him? Well, first of all, why do I have to pay for my groceries? That's just life. That's how the whole system works. If you want to biologically, you want to understand that a woman's happiness and also her feeling of need value his presence. Okay, that's whenever somebody does something for you, you're a woman, and somebody's doing something for you, it stimulates estrogen. Whenever you feel relaxed and I can depend on someone for something, your estrogen will go up. If I'm not relaxed and I need help, then my testosterone will go up and I'll be more like a independent. And so many women, when they've been single for a while, are already making the independent hormones more than the dependent hormones. So let's just look at this. There's independent, two sides of us, independent and dependent. And I know many people go, oh, I'm dependent. That's a bad word. That's a bad word. Actually, we depend on food, don't we? And so it gives you great pleasure and joy, particularly if you're hungry. You will feel a lot of appreciation for the food you're eating and the person who provides. And if you can't buy it yourself and somebody gives it to you, you feel a lot of appreciation for that person. So my mother, for example, depended on my dad to have a job, go out, and then come home, provide the goods, the money. So she depended on him for that. But more importantly, she also depended on him. She had 7 children, 6 boys. She depended on him to police the kids. You know, she could always say, I'll tell your father.
Right.
I'm giving the idea, depending is not a bad thing. It's if you're depending on someone who's oppressive, who's critical, who's demanding, of course, that's a bad thing. But it has nothing to do with the ideal state we want to be aware of. You know, we need our North Star. If you want a man to fall in love with you and you want to fall in love with him, you have to feel inside yourself, I would greatly value having a man in my life. Not why don't I have a man? It's letting yourself feel lonely, letting yourself feel sad. A lot of women are too masculine to even let themselves admit that they're missing a man and they really want a man. They need a man. And what do you need a man for? If you don't have a man in your life, you're not aware of what you really need. You may want one, you may like one, but when you need one and you're not needy, I know this is confusing, but needy is always dissatisfaction that you're not getting what you need. Need is I'm happy to spend this time with you. Being with you is wonderful. I'm enjoying this time.